Good evening, good Sunday evening. I'm very fresh faced. I've just tried to scrub off more of the old orange tan, and it's not going very well because I think this is now just my skin, and this is something I'm just going to have to live with for a while. But that's okay because yesterday was a brilliant day. Obviously I won, which was great, but it was just a good day. Like, I rolled into it because I wanted to do a show before my main shows. It was a good opportunity for me to either run out, practice my posing in a live scenario against other competitors, and just have a good time. Like, I do this because I love to compete, I love to train, I just love the whole process. And it was an opportunity for me to be able to do that before I was planning to. I was ready enough to be able to jump into a show. It's been a long time since I stood on stage. It's been around 18 months, so it made perfect sense. And the federation was great. The guys that run it were great. The girls backstage were great. And it was a really, really nice place to be. So that was fantastic. So what I was going to show you today was just an update on obviously my week and how we rolled into that show, and then what I'm doing going forward for the next week and any changes that I've made. So I thought it'd probably be quite good to jump on with this morning. So essentially, this morning I checked in at 61.4 kilos, which, as you'll see, is actually up. Now, yesterday I went on stage at 60.2 in the morning and had more food than I would usually have, and then finished the day with a Nando's. So that was this last night. I got up this morning and literally jumped straight on the scales, and I was about a kilo up, which was to be expected, to be honest. I think a lot of fatigue as well. I had an amazing night's sleep, the best night's sleep I've had in a long time. I was absolutely exhausted, and this morning woke up still feeling like, wow, I feel really battered, and my legs were so sore this morning when I got up. So it doesn't surprise me. I imagine tomorrow that's going to probably plummet straight back down to about 60 kilos, but we will see, and you'll find out next week, I suppose. However, this week, and I explained last week that we were running no carbs on a depletion for around 5 to 6 days. And we were going to cycle this, so run this for 5 to 6 days, see how I get on, keep checking in every few days and monitor me and see how I look, see how I am changing. And the idea is to bring in some more condition and really start to see some real detail through the glutes and the hams, and really drive for that and push hard for it. So that was what we did through the week last week. Very successful. And then midweek I sort of had a kilo drop, and we decided that that was a good point to start trying to refresh me before we decided to do the show. And then thought, well, do you know what? If we're going to refresh you for a couple of days, so you're going to have a little bit of food and we're going to back off cardio a little bit, we've got that show, so why don't we just do it? So that was the approach that we took. So I had a little bit of a refeed here, and you might say, well, what's the point? Because the weight's gone up now to before where it was at the beginning of last week. But it's not about the weight. Like, me at 61.4 kilos here, it is a lot better look than 61.4 kilos on the 16th of the 4th. Now, like, I can get my photos up and compare both of those, but the look is different. The look at 61.4 today is a much leaner one than it was before. I was depleted at 61.4 kilos previously with more body fat, and now I've got less body fat and I'm full because I've got food in me. So once that food comes down, it will probably drop back to a similar weight to this within the next couple of days, and it wouldn't surprise me if it comes down further. So really successful day. That is what I am, where I am at now. Just looking at me this morning, so this is me this morning after my food and everything last night. Now you will see here, I'm still like, one Nando's hasn't ruined me. Shock. I had a wrap and a large chips basically, and didn't have anything else apart from my other 3 carb meals what I had earlier on in the day, which I'll show you in a minute. But the look here is this morning, so you can still see nice detail through the quad. I'm a little bit softer around the midsection than I was yesterday, but this is actually just due to muscle fullness. Like, I am full. Like, my skin there, my obliques this morning, everything is tight and vascular, but I am full. There is a fullness to my muscularity, which is obviously showing, which giving me more depth. So I'm slightly less sharp here around the waist. It's slightly sort of blown through here. You can see that I am a little bit full, but from the back the look is actually better. As I've filled out here, you can actually see a little bit more detail than what you could yesterday. Now, if I jump to yesterday, this is pre-stage, so this is actually after I think I've had 2 carb meals here. So you can see here if I do a comparison, the lighting is obviously different, but my midsection is slightly tighter here, but there is actually less definition through the rear, and I look less full. There's a slight bit of rippling to my glutes at the top, but there is less fullness there than what you can see here. I'm much rounder and fuller here this morning because my glutes are full. I've obviously had more food, I've slept on it, and there is more fullness there to me. Here I am a bit sharper, and that is obviously the look that we were going for. I wouldn't have actually wanted to push so much food in me where this happens, because you can see here that I'm less sharp. So although I am fuller, like there's not as much detail there, and I prefer a slightly crispier look. When you actually pose and perform on stage as well, as blood moves around your body, this actually helps with the look. Like here I'm very stagnant. I've done 2 rounds of posing. Apart from that, I've been sat down pretty much all morning, traveling and then sitting in the auditorium. Once I started moving here, and you can see from my stage shots, I get fuller, I get harder. It looks like I grow by about 4 inches everywhere once I've been on stage for a few hours. So the look does change. But this was the pre-stage look yesterday, which, to be honest, considering we just said let's just roll into the show, like I'm actually really, really proud of. And now I've got 3 weeks to actually push on to what is my supposed to be my first show of the season, and this look will just continue to improve. So I'm really happy with this as a start point. So just jumping back into where I am. So this is where I'm in my current look this morning, and just jumping back into my check-in. Now, step count here has dropped off a little bit, and it's because I actually changed over from the cross trainer to the stairs, so it's not that accurate, but obviously this is the information that's picked up on my Aura ring. But everything else here is pretty consistent. I've got pretty low energy, and soreness is pretty high today, just from yesterday. So we went back into training because I wanted to train. I felt like I could. I was just tired, so we took it as a deload. I wanted to move around the food that I had yesterday, make sure that I kind of made the most of it, if you like, and I made sure that I moved that around and wasn't stagnant. I didn't want to be stagnant today. I did my cardio this morning, but I did want to move some blood around in the gym, and get a little bit of training done. So that's what I did. I took a deload approach to my training. So I did 1 set on everything, did it to failure, but just did what I felt I could, and then did some stretching off, and that was it. So 3 weeks on current setup. Did sort of a 2-day refresh, very small refresh, and I'll run you through what that looks like, and then back onto my previous no carb or very well depletion diet, if you like. Not completely no carbs, but it's pretty much no carbs going forward for now. And we will monitor this. We're now going to check me in every single day and just monitor how that look is, because now what we need to be careful of, as I am getting leaner, that we don't drive this too much, because we don't want to drive fatigue too high, and we also don't want to be at a point where, like, I actually completely fade away. Like, I can't just do no carbs, cardio, train, and then my physique just kind of wither away, because that isn't productive either. So we do it while it's productive, and then after a few days, if that drives down and my body's responsive, when I have a bit of a drop, a bit like I did this week, we would then go into a bit of a refresh again, bit of a refeed, and then potentially go again. So that is the approach we're taking at the moment. It was very productive last week, so we continue with that. And to be honest, like, from an energy point of view, I'm pretty happy with that. But I think sometimes that is a little bit skewed with myself, and Corey has to sort of rein me back in, because I don't really drag. Like, I just crack on. Apart from sometimes feeling a little bit tired, I just take this as this is what it is, so I just carry on. So we do have to be careful sometimes that I don't just let myself go into a hole, because I do just get on with it, basically. So appetite is okay. Like, I'm not particularly starving, even though my food has been low. Like, I'm okay. I've just kind of adapted, to be honest. So everything else is pretty consistent. Weeks on my current PED setup has been 3, and I have made some changes, or we have made some changes to that going forward, so I will run through that in a minute. Bedtime and wake time is pretty consistent. We had a few late nights again last week, and they were consistent with, like, us travelling up to Liverpool for Corey's heart testing, which he's spoken about if you want to go and have a listen, and then obviously with the show, but then we just adjusted getting up a little bit later, which was fine. Everything else is consistent, and then obviously we had the show day yesterday, so that was that. So just as a little bit of an insight, I won't go into too much detail, but we've got a peak week for the GBO here. Now, what we did do was we said, right, we're going to refresh you. So it's a little bit kind of irrelevant from, like, previous to Wednesday. But as we decided this towards the end, sort of midweek, we were like, okay, well, this could be a goer. We decided to implement a bit of a peak week protocol, nothing too drastic. We didn't peak me, we just refreshed me in line with what my body needed anyway. So all that consisted of was actually, if I come down here, was adding in a pre and a post workout, which was just 40 grams of cream of rice, dark chocolate and fruit, pre and post. And then the day before the show, we did the same, but then added my bagel thin back in for breakfast that we'd taken out the previous week. And then also on show day, we did the same thing, but we just moved that food to the 3 meals before my show. So sometimes you see people being peaked with, girls being peaked over a whole week with up to 800 grams of carbs, this, that, and the other. Now, this week was not a week to be wasted in terms of progress for me to the main events. It was an opportunity to say, right, well, you need a bit of a refresh for a couple of days anyway, because your weight has dropped by 2 kilos in a week, and I've been running this for 6 days now, so we need to pull away. It was, well, we're going to refresh you for a couple of days anyway and give you a refeed, so we might as well let that tie in with a show. So we didn't run a traditional peak week. We literally just rolled in with a little bit more food on the Thursday, a tiny bit more on the Friday, and then a little bit pre-show on the Saturday. Nothing drastic, small amounts of food, could have eaten more, probably would have been fine eating more, and potentially might have looked a little bit fuller and a little bit better, but that wasn't the idea. The idea was just to refresh me, but to be honest, I think I came in just right. I sometimes, it doesn't take a lot to fill me up. I don't need a lot of food. Some girls rally through food and they need a lot to hold on to any kind of fullness. But for me, all I need to do really is move and pose, and a small amount of food goes a very, very long way. So we'd always rather kind of undercook it a little bit than overcook it as well. But that is what we did, just for a little bit of insight. Now, going forward for this week, the aim and the game plan at the moment, if I just show you my food, is literally to roll on back on the same food. So no change at all. No carbs, just what I'm already eating, basically. And that is all. Like, my food isn't changing, so we're just rolling through with that for now. And then what has changed is my PED setup. So now we're 3 weeks out from the first show, and then my shows after that are in very quick succession, so I will just remind you of that on the journey plan. We've got the PCA Universe 2 weeks after regional, then the week after Alicante. So I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 week show period there, and 3 weeks up until the first one. So realistically, like, we're going to be looking at the regional Alicante are like 5 days apart. So we're looking at around 6 weeks really of running the last bit of my prep, and that's all it is going to be, is another 6 weeks, and then I go into recovery phase up to the wedding. You'll see here I've got bloods to be done, and they will be done over the next couple of weeks, so that is in there. And I just added that in. It was never planned, but I thought it's worth putting in the calendar. And then, so probably what you're waiting for me to go through is my PED setup. So now, as stated previously, my TRT dose does not change. That is 3 times a week, 0.8 meg. And what has been pushed now is my Prima Bowling, which has now gone up by 20 meg across the week. And that is the only other direct androgen that I run. I don't take any Anavar, anything like that. I literally just only run Prima Bowling. So 10 milligrams a day now until, well, for now, that's how it sits. That is what my peak load is at, and that is where we are going to sit. So that's 10 milligrams a day consistently, which has been pushed from 50. So that's been titrated up. Everything else stays the same. I don't think I had it on my previous sheet, but GH is in, and that is consistent through off season. That is actually pushed very slightly to 1 IU. Any more than this for a female really is not productive. You might as well just inject your money into your skin. Like, it is really doesn't play much role if you are going to take this over 1 IU a day for a female. We can't do a lot with it. It's not optimal. And in terms of like benefits over negatives and cost, it's really not worth it. It's really not going to do anything. And I actually was taking 1, and when we came into prep, we dropped this to half, because for me, I was getting elements. Once the food started to come down and the swell started to come down, I was seeing still the effects of the growth, where I was having slight swelling through my hands, like I was getting slight joint pain through my hands, and this is quite common with growth. And I was holding additional bits of water retention that you could see, and I could feel it as well. And it sounds like a funny feeling, but when you understand the elements that you take and understand how they affect your body, you can feel these things. So we pulled that back to half to just reduce that. And to be honest, straight away I felt the difference within 24 hours. And we've kept with that. And to be honest, it's an optimal dose for me. It's working absolutely perfectly. So that's what I take as soon as I wake up in the morning. And that is it. Just half an IU a day. So you may think that's not a lot, and it might not seem a lot, but for a female, like, it is plenty and it is more than enough. So taking much more than that is pretty pointless. Everything else is staying the same. Telmisartan's the same. T3 and T4 does not change. That's consistent all the time. My Clen is staying exactly the same, and so is my Yihimbine. Everything else is exactly the same, so no change, and the consistency is like that moving forward. So yeah, I'm really pleased. Had a really good show in yesterday, had a wicked time, really good fun, and now I've got 3 weeks to go until the PCA Universe, which I'm really excited for. I love their shows. They are wicked shows. We have a lot of clients that compete in them. I've never competed with them myself, so I'm really looking forward to that. We're down there for the full weekend. Complete Strength have got a stand there as well. So me and Corey will be standing on that and getting involved with those. So come and see us there as well. And we've also got a couple of clients in the show as well. So it'll be a really good weekend. So really looking forward to that. But that is what I'm doing this week. Any questions, as always, if anyone wants to ask, please let me know. But I hope you found that insightful and useful. And I will catch up with you all next week. Thank you for watching.